Good evening, and welcome to WANA Live, the reading series of the Writers Association of Northern Appalachia. I'm your host, Damian Dressick. This is your other host.
No, I'm the other way.
Not on my screen.
So I'm Christina Fasonic, of course. How are things in this early spring-like weather up there, Damien?
It is like dope fiend weather. It's like Seattle grunge, like why leave the house? Black coffee, um, you know, uh
Well, it was mostly sunny in West by God, Virginia today.
no,
Here
we didn't have that. We
we
didn't have
did,
that.
and I even wore my sunglasses today. That's how sunny it was. Yeah, I know. It's my kind. It's Christina weather right now. So we have
Well,
a.
I hope you went unrecognized.
Oh yes, nobody knew it was me. How could they know? They'll never know. Anyways, we have a new writer on tonight.
We do. We have Amanda Jaros, and we're excited
Jaros.
because she's part of the
No, Amanda Jaros. Yes, remember? Right? We'll ask her when she comes on just to make sure. Okay. Let me introduce her with her bio. She is the author of a brand new book that just came out today called In My Boots, a memoir of 5 million steps along the Appalachian Trail, and another book called 100 Things to Do in Ithaca Before You Die. And Ithaca, New York, if you have not been there, go, go, go. It is so amazing. She is the editor of Labor of Love, a Literary Mama Staff Anthology. Her literary nonfiction has appeared in journals and magazines, including Flyway, Terrain.org, Newfound, Appalachia, and elsewhere. She served in a variety of editorial positions, including editor-in-chief at Literary Mama for 10 years. She lives in Ithaca, New York with her husband and son, where she serves her community as a county legislator. Awesome. And you can find her, of course, at her website. So let's bring her on.
I think we can find her right here.
Yeah, there she is. We messed
Hi.
up, didn't we? Will you tell people how to pronounce your name?
I get that a lot. It's Amanda Jaros.
Jaros.
But I have to say that my brother actually pronounces it differently. He says Jaros. So it's kind of weird. I don't know how he started pronouncing it differently than me, but
that's strange. I love that though, because it's like, well, I might be related to her, I might not be.
That's right. Depending on if he likes the book or not,
Yeah, exactly. Well, my last name, it gets mispronounced all the time. And so I've just, gotten used to it. I just kind of lump it along. And I tell people, it's all right, just call me Christina, but never call me too late for supper. Remember that when we were kids? So
we better get to the reading.
So you are going from a brand new, just today, hot off the shelves book about your walking the Appalachian Trail. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that before we pop off and let you do your reading?
Yeah, well, it's very exciting. Yes, it's brand new release today, so you can buy it anywhere.
Congratulations.
Yes. Thank you. It's been a lovely day of getting notes and messages, and congratulations. So thank you for having me here tonight. It's like perfect timing. Yeah, so here's the book.
Oh, excellent. In My Boots.
That's a great
Super
cover.
Cool.
It is
as
put
a
out
hiker,
by...
I'm really excited about having you on, really excited about hearing the work.
Thank you. Well, I'm delighted to be here. I don't know how much you want me to say, but I can just keep talking.
Well, just give us just a little bit of background so people kind of know what it's about, and then we'll let you do your reading.
Okay. Yeah, so I hiked the trail in 1999, and so this book is recounting of that hike, but it's also, as I was writing the book, I realized that it was really a coming of age story. And it is about my sort of growing up and leaving behind my childhood with a abusive father and letting go of that and really becoming myself. And kind of that point in life was really what launched me into being my own person. So it's the nitty-gritty of the trail, but there's a lot of like flashbacks to my childhood and family situations. So yeah.
That sounds awesome. So we'll let you give everybody a sample of this work. We'll be back.
Great. Thank you. So just a little bit of notes before I read. So this hike was in 1999, which was quite a while ago, and we did not have cell phones or ways to really connect with people once we weren't with them on the trail anymore. It includes a time, I'm going to read about part where my uncle came to visit me, and his name is Tucker J on the trail. That was his trail name. My trail name is Tamarack, so you'll hear that. And this was a point in North Carolina where I was about a month in, and I was just about to get off the trail for about 3 days to go see my brother in Mississippi who was about to graduate. So I will start there. Ahead, the trail traversed several 3,500-foot mountains before rising to some 5,000-foot balds beyond that. We would pass those, then Tucker J and I would be picked up again by Dan Gallagher and brought back to Hot Springs. I worried we would move too slowly for the boys, my friends, but in some places, Tucker J was stronger than all of us. He'd clicked with Buffalo and Journey, and they all had a similar lighthearted attitude, which made the days and miles speed by. On our last afternoon together, I moved uphill through the sunshine with Tucker J close behind. There had been several rocky outcrops, and I had hoped for a good view at the top of this climb. "This has been a great hike, Tamarack," Tucker J said, his labored breathing causing him to speak in gasps. We were both aware of our last miles on the AT together before leaving for Mississippi. Again, the reality of leaving my friends brought up a deep melancholy, but I focused on my uncle and this time together. I could tell that Tucker J had begun to understand the essence of trail life that I had been trying to explain to him on his first night. I slowed my pace as we neared the crest of the ridge. Tucker J went on. "I'm so glad I got to do this with you." He stopped walking. "But let's promise that we'll never let each other climb Mount Everest." I exhaled a chortle. "I'm with you," I replied, 100%. We paused where the trail leveled out, looking for cliffs. Wingfoot mentioned that peregrine falcons lived there, and sure enough, we came across several side trails to overlooks where handmade signs warned hikers to keep back from the ledges where falcons were nesting. We found Journey's and Buffalo's packs at one intersection. Tucker J and I dropped ours as well, grabbed our water bottles, and followed the path through the laurel. The boys were sitting on large rocks, looking out over the great expanse of ridgeline after ridgeline, mountains upon mountains extending into forever. "Breathtaking," Tucker J said. A falcon floated above, sailing on the wind. 2 buzzards drifted by, calmly scanning the area. This seemed to irritate the falcon, and she started swooping at them. "I hate to quote a beer commercial," Journey said, "but it doesn't get much better than this." No one said anything for a while as we drank our water and munched on snacks. The falcon soared lazily, having scared off the buzzards, never straying too far from the cliffs. Last week, I'd fretted about leaving Journey and Slow Buffalo when I'd waited for Tucker J. Now I would be off the trail for 3.5 days. It would be unlikely I could make up time and catch them again. I told them I didn't want them to wait around. Hike your own hike, that was the rule. But sitting on the cliff edge with them, looking across the limitless earth together, I knew it would be hard to leave. Or rather, it would be hard to come back and hike without them. I thought back to my first week on the trail and how I'd felt so uncomfortable with all the men drinking beer and smoking pot. I hadn't found a place to fit in until our group coalesced that night at Standing Indian Shelter. Through days of battling these mountains, we'd become family. We'd been bound together, if not by DNA, then by laughter, tears, and swear words. We had a connection I'd never felt with boys before, certainly not with my boyfriend last year, nor any of the vague male acquaintances I'd had in high school or college. Journey and Buffalo were different. Perhaps I was different too. In a sudden shift, the falcon turned on edge and fell to the earth, head down, blasting through space like a rocket. I wanted to gasp or sing or climb over the edge to see where she went as she sped behind the mountains and out of view. What was she after? Something had caught her eye, something I couldn't see. Once she was gone, only the endless mountains remained. These gnats are wearing down my Buddhist principles, Slow Buffalo said, breaking the silence. He swished his bandana in front of his face for the 1,000th time. Can we go? We all agreed it was time to move on. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. So I wanted to. So you did the entire trail from south to north.
Yes.
How long did it take you?
I started on March 5th and I finished on September 14th. So 6.5 months or so. Yeah. It's long.
That was a major commitment.
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
Did you keep a journal while you were out on the trail?
I did. And I wrote almost every single day. And I think that's why I was able to, go back and be able to remember so much of what I put in the book. I wrote down all kinds of crazy details and things I thought about and funny things people said. And, it really, if I didn't have that journal, I'm not sure I could have really written a detailed book memory account of what happened. Yeah.
Or it would have been quite a different book than the one that you did write.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, there certainly were things I couldn't remember. And, 26 years later, you have a memory of a friend or what somebody was like. But if you haven't written down like the words they said, it's hard to capture them, and I wanted to try to capture people accurately and not like make up what they might have said or, so yeah, it's definitely a challenge.
For sure. And a lot of memory studies show that obviously memory is fallible. And they did this big study right after 9/11. They asked people to write down their memory of what happened. And then
Right.
10 years later, they asked those same exact people to tell them what happened on 9/11, and it was like night and day. What they had
Wow.
written in that 10-year period had changed. And obviously by news coverage, other people's memories and time
Yeah,
passing and what they chose. Every time you remember, you remember something, it changes the memory. That's what memory
totally.
does. So
And I think, for a memoir, like I definitely like to say like this is my memory. This is my experience as I remember it from my journals. And, I did reach out to family and some of my friends from the trail to like, get their perspective and did I say this right? That sort of thing. But, another person in the same experience could have had a very different perspective on it. So this is my story.
yeah. Have you ever wanted to do it again? Or is once enough?
Well, I think early on, I mean, again, this is, I was 23 at the time and I didn't have kids. I didn't really have a job. I was traveling. I did go back the following summer and I worked at Mount Rogers National Recreation Area as a ridge runner. So I spent the summer just hiking back and forth on the trail and talking to hikers and, you know, trying to teach people about leave no trace and that sort of thing. And I think after that, I was a little bit like, yeah, I don't know if I need to hike so much anymore. um, but then 3 years later, with one of my hiking friends I met, we went out to the Pacific Crest Trail
Wow.
and started in Canada and hiked down to Oregon. So just did the Washington section. So I do like long hikes.
So, for those of us who don't have the time or wherewithal to do the entire Appalachian Trail, is there a particular section of it you would suggest that this is the thing you don't want to miss?
I mean, that's hard. I think the most dramatic section is probably New Hampshire, the presidential range.
Winter woods. Right? That's what we all should do. Go ahead.
Go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
You know, I think but it's hard. So if you haven't really hiked before, I wouldn't recommend just going to New Hampshire and hiking the Whites. Like, I think you need to build up your strength. But I mean, the South, like, it was gorgeous. The Balds through North Carolina and Tennessee and Virginia, just stunning. And, you know, the middle area, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, lovely in many ways, but not as sort of spectacular. So it's hard to pick a favorite section. And I guess my favorite place is probably Katahdin in Baxter State Park in Maine, which is actually how I discovered the Appalachian Trail. I didn't even know what the Appalachian Trail was. And after college, I got a job at Baxter State Park and was like an assistant naturalist and, you know, working with campers and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I climbed Katahdin numerous times and I was like, wow, this is incredible, and kind of fell in love with hiking, and then realized that people had walked there from Georgia. And I was like, that's incredible. Like, I didn't even know you could do that. So yeah, then I decided I had to do it.
That's awesome. And the pictures that people post from Katahdin are extraordinary. And I can't even imagine what that must have felt like when you're finally there. Like, after this whole journey, it must be bittersweet in some ways, like a relief, exhilarating, but also like, oh, it's over.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I love that mountain. I love that park. It's, you know, just a stunning place. But yeah, I mean, it was like, I never want to walk anywhere ever again. That's how I felt.
Don't even
And
want to walk to the bathroom, right?
I don't even want to go to the bathroom. I don't even want to walk to the car, you know, to take me away. But yeah, like, it was like, we were all very cognizant of the fact that it was over. Like, this adventure was over, and you never get that back, you know. But then I would say, going back to your question about journals and, you know, and writing, like, I really felt like when I was writing the book and reading through all of that and looking at my pictures, I kind of felt like I was doing it again. And there was a real joy in remembering the, you know, the stupid things my friends said, or the stupid things we laughed about, or, you know, whatever. And I got to relive it without having to actually climb those mountains.
That's awesome. There's a lot of benefit to that.
We have some fans and viewers watching the show.
You.
Awesome.
We have Laura Jackson here, who some of us know. Actually, our audience knows, because sometimes she co-hosts when one of us is absent.
Right.
Of course, says Tamarack is a badass. That's like the most Laura Jackson thing you can say.
That's awesome. And she has an amazing book out that I believe she was on the show to talk about. So
absolutely, yes. And we were grateful for that. Do you feel that, you know, obviously we feel this, but that more people are interested in writing and literature from Appalachia than before? I mean, when you were working on this, did people say, well, why would you write about that? Or is that cool? I mean, what was the reaction as you were going through this book?
I think it was more, I don't know, it might have been more internal, but I think there was kind of a question of like, why are you telling another story about hiking this trail? Like,
oh, yes,
these days there's a lot of Appalachian Trail or Pacific Crest Trail stories, and particularly after, you know, Cheryl Strayed's Wild, like, there's a lot a lot of insecurity about, are people going to want to read another story about a girl, hiking with her problems in the woods? Um, but then, like, I know, right?
Yeah.
But then somebody was like, well, how many books are there about World War II, or, Teddy Roosevelt, or, like, I mean, people who like that topic are going to read it. And there's more and more of those kind of books. So I think that, in some ways that's great. More people are having the chance to tell their story. And it's an incredible experience that a lot of people won't get to have. So if they can read about it, that's wonderful. I want to share that story with people. But
Well, I think it
terms of
also makes it possible too. Oh, this, when you read the book, it's like, oh, you know what? If this person could do this, I can take a stab at it myself. So I think it's
right.
inspirational in a lot of ways as well.
Yeah, and even if you can't hike the whole thing, like you said, Damien, like, get out there for a week or a weekend or a month, or whatever you can do, and appreciate this amazing resource that we have, that and so many people are like, it's some, there's like millions of residents of the East Coast who live within like an hour's drive of the Appalachian Trail. And I think people do get out and appreciate it. But it's important. It's important that we have this, and that we have the Appalachian Trail Conservancy that is working to protect it and preserve it. And I would just note that this is their 100th year. The ATU was started to be built in 1925, and they formed in 1925 to build the trail and protect the trail. And here we are, 100 years later.
That is incredible. That is something I probably read somewhere, but totally forgot. But 100 years, that's amazing. And I think that's a testament to the trail and how important it is to people to do whatever they're going to the trail to do, to find themselves, or to work something out, or to get some exercise, or to challenge themselves. I mean,
I read a memoir from I believe it's the person who hiked the Appalachian Trail the fastest.
oh yeah.
And
right.
he one of the things I thought was really interesting with the memoir, he said that, a lot of people gave him shit about, you didn't take the time to appreciate the, what was out, what you were seeing. And he's like, what you didn't understand is I wasn't interested in looking outward. I was interested in looking inward.
Right.
And I thought it was like, wow, that's, really cool.
Well, Tara
Yeah,
Dower,
and
a woman beat that record. I just wanted to correct that. The person who hiked it the fastest was Tara Dower, a woman. And she hiked it. She finished it in 40 days, 18 hours, and 5 minutes. And she went from Mount Katahdin in Maine to Springer Mountain, Georgia.
Yeah, that was intense. I read her story. That's, I mean,
what?
There were some days that I could do like 1 mile,
Yeah. I mean, I can't even imagine what you would have to have mentally and physically to do that in 40 days. It just, I can't.
Yeah. A lot of energy.
Speechless, but that does. Or at least everybody wishes it would. So thank you so much, Amanda, for being on the show.
Well, thank you. It's lovely to talk to you both.
Yeah, thanks for making time to join us. And can we see that book one more time?
Yes.
Yeah.
And who did you say the publisher was?
It's Black Rose Writing.
Cool.
Okay. And where can people find this?
Well, I highly recommend that you buy it on bookshop.org.
Bookshop.
If folks know about Bookshop, because they support indie authors or indie bookstores. You could buy it on Amazon if you need to, and that's okay. I am going to be working to get it in some bookstores, but probably mostly on the East Coast. So not sure about that yet.
All right.
Okay. Well, thank you again. And we will see everybody next week, right?
Will we see everybody next week?
Oh, maybe. If not, then the week after. Can't remember. I don't have the schedule in front of me. So
Right.
thank
Thanks
you
a lot,
again,
y'all.
Amanda.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
All right.
care.
Good night, everybody.